there's a lot to talk about taxes. We know that there is a whole bunch of people talking about what Florida's doing with taxes. Well, from a legislative standpoint, right? Like our taxes going away, property taxes going away in Florida under this like DeSantis administration. There's also a whole lot of talk about the last 5-6 years in Florida and how taxes have affected us. And then we're just going to talk about taxes et al. Just kind of like how it affects the rental property investors' mindset. Let's start with the big headlines, right? Everybody knows that Ron DeSantis has kind of like brought forth this idea of eliminating property taxes in Florida. Let's start with the sexy headline, JC. What do you think?
I'm going to do my best here. This is not my area of expertise. So I'm probably going to screw up a few of the details here. But, at the end of the day, there is real momentum to get this on the ballot in November. And that's what the governor wants. And now it seems like both the House and the Senate also want that to happen. The big question was, how are we going to pay for this? Yeah. What Governor DeSantis has said, and there's some squabbling about how big of the deficit would need to be made up if property taxes were eliminated. So there's not a finite number there. But what Governor DeSantis has mentioned is that he really doesn't want to have a sales tax decrease because we're going to have to make up for the services to be able to pay for the services. So, instead of giving a sales tax, which basically benefits anybody who comes in and spends money in the state of Florida, he's very pro on reducing expenses for Floridians who live here. So he is saying, hey, let's move some of that money from the sales tax decrease and buffer the property tax decrease. So those revenues can go there and make the property tax elimination much easier. But the big hang up is, how do you do this equitably? If you're going to significantly reduce or eliminate property tax in the state of Florida, how do you do it equitably for the varying counties that we have, varying sizes of counties, varying economic realities for our counties? Some are economic powerhouses and some are not. And so especially for the smaller, more rural counties, they depend almost entirely on property tax revenue coming in to fund their services. Yeah. And if you're a small town, you still have to have a courthouse, still have to have a firehouse, so it's like you can't just like scale down some expenses. Totally. But one thing that the governor did mention, which I thought was really interesting, is that he's very big on benefiting those who live in Florida, and he wants to make up whatever deficit there would be from a property tax elimination or reduction for those international buyers who are buying luxury homes in Florida. So an additional tax on luxury purchases from international buyers has been talked about. And then just talked about how he would rather have folks that are coming in as tourists being able to spend and to be taxed as they currently are right now with the sales tax.
Benefit the local business.
And then, the Floridians who live here would see the reduction of property taxes, which is, we are his constituents. And so that's a lot of the rhetoric that is being floated out right now. So I would say it's a cool idea. Yeah. I think there's still a whole lot of numbers that we have to really look through. Totally. Because the downside of doing this, the upside is great for the state of Florida. Yeah. More affordability for us as rental property investors, we would win dramatically here, because while our property taxes would not be eliminated as rental property investors, what would happen is market values overall would likely increase, and your home's value, your rental property value, would likely increase because home values would go up for those primary homes. And so rental properties would follow suit, and rental property prices would go up as well. So that sounds great for us. But the downside of a strategy where you eliminate property taxes is we might lose some of our essential services. And so that's a pretty big downside. So I think looking at the numbers and making sure we do it the right way is important to make sure that it's a good thing for everybody. Honestly, not just us, not just me and you and those who are watching the show here.
Makes sense, man. It's definitely going to be like a thread of a needle that's going to happen in order to do something. So I think the word extraordinary fits here, right? It doesn't necessarily need to have a positive or negative connotation. It's just extraordinary. Yeah. Right? This is not your average move here.
That's true.
State, right?
It is true. And property taxes are a lot. The state has a surplus. So I applaud the idea and the ingenuity. And honestly, it's gotten a lot closer than I ever thought it would be. Yeah, so I hope that the numbers can work and everybody benefits.
So we're going to put into perspective kind of the effect of the rise in property taxes over the past couple of years here in Florida. That being said, these are past numbers. This is informational purpose only. Do your own due diligence. All investments require risk. Anything else?
We're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice.
All right, GC, let's get to the meat of this thing. Talk to me.
Cool, man. Well, I just thought it would be good to have real data to substantiate the uproar for Florida property taxes. So let's just lean in and look at the numbers as far as the pain that people have felt with property tax increases. So what I did is I pulled the median home sales price in 2020 in Jacksonville. 249.9 was the median home sales price in 2020 in Jacksonville. And then what we look at is the average property tax percentage of the price, which is 1.3% in the state of Florida. That's actually a lot lower than a lot of other states as far as what their average property tax percentage is. So that's a great thing for the state of Florida. But if you look at that, then you could estimate what the average property tax bill is in Jacksonville in 2020. And again, I can't see the number there, Pobs. For an old man like me, can you tell me what that number is?
$3,249.
There we go.
Yeah.
So $3,200. Well, then I looked in 2020, then currently here. So our median home sales price right now, according to John Burns, is about $361,000. Our property tax percentage, again, is 1.3%. So, our average property tax bill was at about $4,600. So big picture, that means that the home sales price in Jacksonville has gone up over 110,000, about 111,000.
111, yeah.
Which is the big picture win that the average investor in Jacksonville has received. But the average property tax bill has gone up about $1,400. And that's what really has hit people's bank accounts. And that is what drives a lot of these articles that are written and these headlines and say, oh my gosh, property taxes have gone bonkers in the state of Florida. People focus on that $1,400 number. There's no mention of the other number.
There is a certain feeling of like, when you get a letter in the mail from the government saying you owe me more money.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And that's very visceral. So
Right.
like this idea that this has happened over 6 years. So it's not like if like 1 year to the next, they're like, give me an extra.
Right.
You don't get a letter in the mail saying good news, your property just went up.
Right.
$110,000.
Right. And that 44% increase is substantial compared to what pro formas said in 2020. Nobody expected property taxes to go up 44% over the next 6 years. The expectation that we have on all of our pro formas is a 3% increase per year for property taxes. And so 3% time, compounding annually for 6 years is not 44%. It's a lot less. So the estimates for property taxes for everybody, including JWB, were lower than actuality when it comes specifically to property taxes. And the reason for that, of course, is because of the big amount of home price appreciation that we saw.
Got it.
But the other part of this, so I look at it and I say, okay, well, people are upset about property taxes going up. They're missing the big picture that their pile of money is a lot bigger. Their equity in their home, their home price appreciation, their net worth is a lot bigger. The amount of increase of property taxes hurts our pocketbook. Nobody likes to spend $1,400 a month, a year more. However, the amount of money that we've gained in this transaction is a lot more. But the other reason why I discount the property tax question or reason as to why not to invest in the state of Florida or in Jacksonville is because net income wise, you actually have gained included in the property tax increase. And what I mean is that rents have gone up a whole lot more than we expected since 2020. So in 2020, the median single family monthly rent in Jacksonville was about $1,440. That brings you out to about $17,000 in annual rent.
$17,000, yeah.
Well, in 2026, that same median single family rental property in Jacksonville has rents of about $1,800. So the total rent increase is 26%. That's a lot more than we expected when it came to your pro formas. And 26% on $17,000 is a much bigger number than 44% on $3,000.
Yeah.
Right. So you have gained a lot more in rental income to fully account for the increase in the property taxes and then some.
But you know what you haven't gotten, GC?
What's that?
Is a letter in the mail from the government saying your rent has gone up.
Right. You have gotten a notice from JWB. If you're a JWB client, you've gotten a call and you've said, hey, guess what? We've now rented the property, or your resident has renewed at a $50 a month increase or something. So there's a little bit of that, but yes, to your point, you don't get that.
Yeah, right. So it's just like a visceral feeling. It's totally understandable, right? Like it's like $1,400 that you're feeling versus this $4,400 straight up, right? Like at the end of the day, cash flow wise, you're up $3,000 cash flow out of your pocket.
Just on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but it's not the same feeling.
It's not the same feeling.
Right.
And it hasn't made the same headlines, to be quite honest.
And there's no headline.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
And, that we shouldn't simplify and just say, rents have gone up, which is outpaced what property taxes have gone up, because there's other expenses along the way. The other one that has made a lot of headlines is insurance cost as well. So here, I just wanted to put the big picture together for what the average investor, JWB investors, and even beyond JWB investors in Jacksonville have experienced through this potential time of maybe not wanting of the general public saying this is not a good time to invest in Florida because of property taxes. Let me tell you what has really happened. So from the years 2020 to 2026, the total increase for the average investor in Jacksonville has gone up by about $13,000 cumulatively? I can't see the number there.
13,200.
There you go. Going off memory there.
Yeah.
So all in all, over those 6 years, the average investor has made over $13,000 additional rent just from the rental revenue. Yes, revenue from the gains. Property taxes have gone up. So on average, they've had to give back about $4,000 or so.
$4,323.
$4,323. There we go. And then I also estimated for the increase to insurance as well. So I estimated that insurance costs had gone up about $500 a year. Mm-hmm. So now we can kind of look at this and say, all right, so rents are way higher. We gave about $5 or $6 grand back in terms of additional property taxes and insurance costs. We're still net income positive here. Mm-hmm. And this is why the argument as to why not to invest in the state of Florida or a market like Jacksonville because of property taxes hold no water with me. Yeah. It's because you win on the net income side. Yeah. You win on the net worth side. That's why it doesn't make sense to me when people say don't invest in the state of Florida because of property taxes or don't invest in Jacksonville. You win even in a moment where property taxes went up way more than we all expected. You still win. The JWB investors who bought back in the day still won. I won, you won. And that's not a coincidence. Yeah. We talk about how you still will win in rental properties, even in downtimes. Yeah. Often. It's like a main theme of why I love this asset class. Yeah. So look at this. This is another feather in the cap of rental property investing. Even when property taxes go way up and insurance goes way up, it was still the great time, a great decision to be able to invest during that moment.